So, without further words, I present to you Margarida Costa, who is member of the board of the very recent United Nations Association and the moderator for the next panel.
Thank you, Mari. I'm also SDG ambassador for SDG 17 because I believe partnerships are the way to deal with everything, and also because I believe with partnerships, with love to yourself and to the others, we will solve everything. So I'm calling to the stage Jaime Andrés from Parpública. This new conversation is about the role of business. What can we do? We've heard that it is very important and we can make the difference. And also, Jaime, you can come. And also, José Brito from BCP. And also Bruno Ferreira. And we have here represented, we have the public sector, we have the private sector, and we have those who are always in between, I mean the lawyers. So let's see what they have to tell us. We are a bit late, so once time and space are very important for life, we're gonna optimize our time, and we'll have to be very precise, and we have here people very skilled. So I will begin with José Maria, and I'll ask him. We will begin with two main questions to the three of them, so that they can speak a little bit what they are, and with the questions it is easy to understand this. So, José Maria, why do you think it is important that companies are invited to participate in this important agenda? And do you agree that companies in the financial sector have a special transformative role given the possibility of demanding transformation from others?
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation that was addressed to MCP. I'm in fact chief economist of MCP. The body in which I'm here is as the head of sustainability, which is a division of the bank which is growing fast, given the needs to comply with the regulated, but of course also the needs to guarantee that we have an offer, ESG offer, that will allow our clients to transform themselves into a more sustainable world. So, coming back to your question, I guess that's there's one obvious reason why companies must be invited into this agenda, and that's because this is something that cannot be done on a top-down approach. Sustainability is about behaviors, is about reviewing principles, is about commitment, and one cannot legislate principles or commitment or, for that matter, ambition or purpose. And so we need grassroots movements, we need companies to make sure that they incorporate these new principles into their activities, make sure that their innovation goes through also these sustainability goals and aims. And because if they don't do that, they basically will be off the market, because stakeholders, being clients, suppliers, the communities that surround companies, they are increasingly demanding more sustainable behaviors, more sustainable products. And so if companies are not there, they won't be able to perform well, even on an economic basis. And so I guess that the Global Compact is very useful to help companies to frame their approach, their positioning, because all of this is very difficult to incorporate, and I mean, we have this experience at the bank. As an organization, it's not easy to incorporate all of these, And of course we can do this by engaging with institutions and entities like the Global Compact and UN, and also with our clients. Moving on to the second part of the question, has to do with the role of financial institutions. I guess that it's one of the, it was a brilliant idea, because we know that the financial sector is pivotal in allocating capital. It's not the only player, but it has a lot of say in this capital allocation. And so by bringing sustainability into this process of capital allocation by the financial system, it's an excellent idea to accelerate the transformation towards the decarbonized economy, a more sustainable, inclusive and socially just world. And I guess that this will accelerate, but it has to be not by banks imposing restrictions. Has to all to do with engaging with clients. In our case, the case of the banks, we have to engage with clients. We have to help them to see the way forward in this sustainability path. And I'll end it here, not to assume that much, to be sustainable in terms of time as well.
Thank you. So I'll pass to the public sector. Jaime, tell me, do you consider that companies belonging to the state business sector have an increased responsibility? And then again, and what should be the role of states considering the involvement of companies? So when we involve companies, shall we forget the states or no?
Thank you for the question. Let me firstly to thank the organization for inviting me to be here and to share the ideas and the experiences. My congratulations, because it is a very, very important initiative. Yes, I do. It is not possible to think in the contrary, because, as you know, the public companies or public firms implement or perform public policies. So, in this case, the companies, the public companies, have to pay attention to different kinds of public policies. On one side, we have the sectorial public policies, and it's easy to understand. And on the other side, we have the policies that foster the best practices in the companies, not only for public companies, but also for private companies. But for us who are in public companies, we are obliged. It is not a matter of best practices, it's a practices that we have scrutiny to fulfill. It is important to consider that. The concept of competitiveness nowadays is very different from the past, because it is not so close to profitability as in the past, but we are not maximizing the profit, we are optimizing the profit, because before we have the responsibility to answer to some challenge as the sustainability of the planet. We have to assure the equality of gender. We have to conciliate the interests, different interests inside the company. So, as I said before, we have no other choice. We need to be example to fulfill those practices. In what concerns what is the role of the state to help the companies to be competitive, I would say that it's one of the biggest challenge for the governments, because it is, as I said, the concept of competitiveness is different, but we must pay attention that we are in a system. The professor previously spoke about the triangle of society, economy, and sustainability. These are some of the components of the economic system. There is no single firm system. There are a lot of other agents inside the economy, the banks, the technological centers, and other, the public sector inclusive. It's important to have all of those conditions functioning in the economy. So, mainly for the small and medium companies, they don't compete alone. They need to have some backbones to help them functioning in the market to be competitive. They cannot have research departments and other important departments that can sustain the company. So, to finalize, the state has the responsibility to create favorable conditions to help the companies to be competitive.
So, now the lawyers. Do you believe, Bruno, that we already have all the legal mechanisms in place to pursue this agenda and the entire associated framework? What are the main legal and regulatory points that you believe could be improved? And in the end, can you imagine just 3 words with that? An ideal legal model? I know it's a lot of questions, but as we don't have much time, I'm also from law, so I think we have a special role in all of this. We have, so let me hear you.
So thanks again for those of you that haven't heard before. Well, I thought the question you were going to ask, can I imagine a world without lawyers? And I can't imagine.
No, I wouldn't do that. I don't know why, but I wouldn't.
So, I mean, in terms of legal mechanisms that we have in order to address both the climate emergency and all of these goals that we've been discussing today, we've made significant ground. We're of course not there yet, not even close probably. And of course, this depends on who you're asking. The United Nations, I think, has a great role in this, especially from 2011, where the UN Guiding Principles on Human Rights were approved. Those have been used, prepared by John Ruggie, endorsed by the Human Rights Council. Those have been used as voluntary guidelines by companies to determine their role, basically the impact that they're doing in society in general, and what they should be doing better, of course together with the OECD guidelines. So there's been a lot of progress on the voluntary basis framework. This, of course, has been helping the mandatory type of legislation also to evolve substantially. In several laws, of course, in the financial sector, this is more and more visible. Not only the sustainable finance disclosure regulation has been improved, and a whole bunch of additional regulations on asset management and on the financial activity, especially trying to address greenwashing in the financial sector. So, and the new reporting directive that will be replacing the former non-financial reporting directive. So there's a lot of news on this. Of course, the current situation has had the impact that we saw on the fulfillment of the SDGs and also on the advancement of legislation. I'm very optimistic that we will have significant news in the next year or so, especially with the corporate sustainability and due diligence directive. So this is a directive that will basically make corporates to have a plan to address their impact on human rights and the environment. This is currently under discussion between the European Commission, the Council, and the Parliament. Let's see what comes out of this. There's a lot of pressure from lobbying groups on both sides, on the sides of the NGOs to not water down the UNGPs, and on the side of some businesses in order to have it a little bit watered down in terms of what will be the requirements that will apply at the end of the day. But this, I think, is going to have a groundbreaking effect all over in the terms of the roles that corporates are playing in this part, especially because it will, on these topics I usually try to avoid the word trickle down, because it has the connotations that we do, but I'm sure that it will trickle down. And for example, the most impact that we will have in Portugal is that even if it doesn't apply directly to a big number of Portuguese companies due to the type of economic sector that we have, it will surely apply to those companies that supply German companies and that supply French companies. And so at the end of the day, this is something we need to prepare for. And it's something that will certainly give us a big competitive advantage as a country if we are ready for that, because we are already at a partial competitive disadvantage, because in Germany there's already a supply chain act, in France there's already a vigilance act, the Netherlands is preparing, Norway also has. So these other countries basically have already been discussing what plans they should prepare, how this will impact them going forward, and we're still a bit behind. Of course, the companies that supply German companies will be impacted by the German Supply Chain Act, and the companies that supply French companies too, but this is still something a bit indirect. And so in the perfect world, I would see that basically everybody, every corporate should at least know what impact they're making, try to mitigate and remedy it if they can.
Okay, thank you. So we've heard here that the scenario isn't good, but we must be optimistic, and I believe in so. I would like to know, in a short answer from each of you, if you think that the current global geopolitical framework, namely the war in Europe, only delays this process, or it can serve as a trigger to make people more awareness of what path we should go. It's almost a yes or no, and I'll begin now. Jaime.
I think that it depends on the situation that we are analyzing, but of course that could happen. Some delay with some problems in the system, but I would like to believe more that those problems could foster decisions, anticipating strategies, and creating new opportunities for the future. Look for the pandemic situation that we are living with. In this case, it is affected, everybody recognizes, I can guess that it was a good opportunity to accelerate the vision to the digital transformation. You remember the figures of Professor Clara Raposo, that it increased from 50% to 63% the use of internet. But it is not only the use of internet associated with or linked, connected to the use of internet. We have new regimes of work, new processes in doing the production. Everything was changed dramatically during some months or even 2 years, with the need to accelerate the digital transformation. So it depends on the situation and it depends on the opportunity, but I believe that it could be, you said trigger, yes, it could be that could appear some trigger role to accelerate the processes.
You also agree with that?
Yes, I can go first. I think it will have an impact. I think there are 2 examples. I agree that it's going to be difficult to treat every one of these aspects the same way. So the impact that it will have and that the war in Ukraine has had won't affect every one of the aspects similarly. But I think, for example, it put on everybody and on every corporate board member's mind the fact that, of course, it was as a result of sanctions, but they need to consider if they're doing business with Russia and why is that. And so that's already having to consider human rights at the end of the day, but because that's why the sanctions came about. Yes, and but here I think people are always talking about this debate by the fact that, for example, there's a frequent argument saying that Germany stopped with nuclear energy too soon and it should have waited, and now it's subject to this pressure with the natural gas. Wasn't it too late? Is it keeping the reliance on natural gas from Russia or oil from other countries? Is it they should have started making this earlier, and now they weren't, and probably us too, as dependent on Russian gas as we are right now. So I think it's going to make it more visible and put
more awareness and new solutions.
Yeah.
You also believe in that, and you think that the digital transformation needs a solution?
Yeah, sure. I think that war in Ukraine will be that relevant for this agenda. And I'll give just 3 very quick facts. One is that I was 2 weeks ago at the European Banking Federation working group on sustainability, and every bank there represented basically said that they haven't changed anything on their sustainability agenda. So not because of the war, not even because of COVID. So I guess we'll just keep the path. That's the first. Second, the International Energy Agency published a very short press release last week saying that greenhouse gas emissions in 2022 will be coming much lower than expected, and that despite more coal burning because of the war, and that's just a just a blip in terms of the emissions. And this better news than expected is basically explained by renewables and the increasing use of electric vehicles. And the third fact is that we are at the tipping point in terms of climate change, but we are also at the tipping point in terms of technology development as well, when it comes to clean energy. And we have huge and cumulative improvements and gains in terms of the efficiency of solar panels, wind energy, batteries, and that's what really will drive transformation, because otherwise to have a clean energy without technological innovation, to have to sacrifice a lot of material comforts, and that's of course not desirable. So I guess that this agenda will accelerate a lot because of technology.
Thank you. So I think we all agree that challenge should be used as opportunities. I also would like to know one SDG that I'm going to begin with José Maria now. One SDG that you think your organization impact most, and which is your own favorite SDG? And then I will go.
Okay, well, I'm very well that I'm the chief economist for Islamic economies, and my preference would go to 8, because end of the day, if we don't create wealth, we cannot redistribute, we cannot make it better. So decent work and economic growth is the most important.
And the bank?
Well, we have selected 8 SDGs that we aim at.
Which one is your favorite of those?
Is the 8.
8 for 8.
It's 8.
And Bruno?
SDG 5, on both of them.
Thank you.
So I think we have, of course, we have to work on representation on our leadership, which is lagging a little bit behind the rest of the organization. And I think we can also help our clients do that. So I think it's my favorite one.
For both?
Yeah, for both of them.
So, Jaime?
I would choose the same number 8 because I consider that all of the SDGs are important. As I said before, I am trained to see everything as a system. So a system has components, interdependent components, interrelated components. It's like a gear. If something is missing, something is not working well, all the system, all the engine will stop or work badly. So you see the first 6 SDGs are very important for the quality of the development, for the dignity of the humanity, and so on. But conceding the theme of this panel, that is ambition of the companies, I would choose, of course, number 8, number 9, and perhaps number 12. Just one. Just one. So, to be different, number 9.
Well, I must say that, as you heard, for me it's number 17 because it can deal with all the others, and because I truly believe that partnerships is the way to the future. And thinking about the future, because we must end shortly,
Yes.
I would ask you, what is your dream for the United Nations PAC? And then in the end, what message to celebrate the 77th year of the United Nations?
Great challenge. For my dream. My dream appeared when I see the difficulty of the United Nations to help this war in Ukraine. So I dream with the United Nations with more capacity to enforce all the policies, all the values that the United Nations defends. For the other question was about the message. The message is to congratulate for the work that was being done during these 77 years, and I would like to incentivize to continue to work on that sense.
I guess my dream would be Martin Luther King's dream, basically bringing people together. I guess that my dream for the UN would be something along the lines of the I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King. And the message is, I remember when I was growing up, for me at least, and it might be ambiguous and unjust for the UN, but for me the UN was about peacekeeping corps on the ground and about big speeches by important men. So I guess that my message is that I truly appreciate the UN becoming more down to earth and engage much more in partnerships. In the last few years I have had working sessions with people from the UN, and something that I didn't think possible before. And so my message is keep on doing this, keep on betting on partnerships, and also another message, bring more women into the UN.
Thank you. Bruno. Thank you.
Yes, I think that the message is congratulations and stay the course and keep up the pressure. I think that's a big part when because you tend to your day-to-day activity tends to make you busy with other less important things, and so we need pressure all the time. For that reason, I think my dream would be to have like a small chatbot on my ear, just reminding me each time that I need to take care of something and consider the impact that we're making and so on, because then you would be able to focus and to keep the pressure on.
Okay, thank you. We really are short of time, so we just say thank you very much for being here. I just want to say thank you to the United Nations, and I wish the United Nations can grow stronger, and count with me. Thank you.